if you have a dream to do something, go and do it. Don't wait. Life's too short to wait. And so I work on the basis that when I die, I want to die with memories, not with dreams.
So from California to Hawaii, how far is that?
Yeah, it's 3,200 statute miles, 4,500 kilometers.
Some of these things, people think it's about physical endurance, but there's all sorts, isn't there? It's the psychology.
So physically, you can keep it going, but it's the mentality of it, the ability to dig deep and not just motivate yourself, but motivate those around you.
5 fearless adventurers, Ocean 5, are preparing to row 5,000 kilometers across the Pacific Ocean, unsupported, to raise funds for the brain tumor charity. Among them is Kevin Gaskell, who aims to become the oldest person to complete the crossing. Today, he joins Mike Greene to share the story behind this record-breaking challenge.
Listen, obviously you got an amazing corporate career, Porsche and Lamborghini and what have you, but what made you decide to start doing endurance challenges that pushed different frontiers?
I mean, I've been climbing. I grew up in North Wales, so I've been climbing since I was a kid. We had a climbing club and we'd go off to Snowdonia. There was a cottage that the school, I think it was owned by a local authority. I went to a comprehensive school, but we had access to this cottage and we would go up every few weeks and we'd spend a long weekend there with the teachers. And we would do some hiking, some climbing, learning how to use ropes. And, small challenge became a slightly bigger challenge, became a slightly bigger challenge. And over time, they've just got bigger and bigger. And you kind of run out of things to do. So when you've climbed a lot of big mountains and you walk to both poles, what do you do next? And we said, well, let's row an ocean. Why not? What could go wrong? What's the worst that can happen?
Well, there's a lot that can happen. I had a mentor that made me do mountains and marathons and long distance cycles. And then one day he said, what's still scary? I said, nothing. If someone else will try it, I'll give it a go. And he said, I want you to cross an ocean. So we did part one at London, Brest, Rio on the Clip Around the World yacht race. But it brings out different things in you. But why rowing? Where did that come from as a pivot from mountains?
It came about simply because I was talking to a friend of mine who is a professional explorer, and we were shooting a breeze on what to do next. And he just rowed for the second time. He'd rowed the Atlantic. And he said to me, Kev, you should row the Atlantic. You'd love it. And I said, Peter, this guy's called Peter Van Ketz, South African guy. And I said, Peter, I don't know anything about rowing. I don't know anything about oceans. I don't know anything about navigation. And he said, yeah, but you could learn and you'll love it. So I went away and thought about it, and it kind of seeded an idea. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know what, this could be quite fun. So I asked my son, and he said, no. And I said, what do you mean, no? He said, no. We don't know anything about water. We don't know anything about rowing. No. So I was speaking at a conference, and I used photographs. I speak about leadership and building teams and building companies. And I use photographs from the expeditions to demonstrate soft skills, trust, honesty, accuracy, and things that you need as part of a team who are going to do extreme adventures. And somebody in the audience asked me, so what's your next adventure? And I'd just been speaking to Peter, and I said, well, I'm thinking about rowing the Atlantic. It was complete fabrication because I was thinking about it, but I had no plans to do it.
Then you become hung by your tongue all of a sudden.
And this guy in the audience said, well, I'd like to come with you. And I said, okay, see me afterwards. So over a cup of tea afterwards, he said, are you serious? And I said, no. He said, well, I am. And I think we could do it. And I've got a couple of mates who'd like to come. Well, why don't we get together and talk about it? And we did that. And we spoke about it. And we pulled the team together. And then Matt said, well, okay, if you're serious, I'm in. Matt's my son. Yeah. If you're serious, I'm in. And he joined the team. And now, I mean, frankly,
that won a record as well, didn't it?
Yeah. We broke the record for the fastest 5-man row across the Atlantic.
I've found passion in these things as well, and my family think I'm crazy, but and it would probably be 15 years ago, I lose track of time, but a guy worked for me called Chris Martin, and him and Mick Dawson actually did a similar thing. Well, I think they went from Japan to San Francisco. That was like 130 days unaided, and that was crazy sort of stuff.
Yeah. I've read his book.
Tons of dried food and all that sort of things. Yeah. Small world, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I've read his book. It's a great book.
Yeah, no, I remember him telling me there were all sorts of records they were trying to set, and the last one of them was to be completely unaided, but they'd run out of food about a week out, and they was starting to hallucinate. It was getting dangerous and everything else, so they had to call for some help. And he said, I mean, they were probably only a couple of 100 miles out or so. So anyway, a helicopter came and dropped them some food, and it was a McDonald's, which was cold. He said, but biting into that after weeks of dried food, he said it was like the best food I've ever tasted. Well, listen, it's really exciting, and one of the things I look forward to is seeing you when you're back, whether you want to come and see me or your son or the team, but to get together and talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I think it's about physical endurance, but there's all sorts, isn't there? It's the psychology, it's the arguments you make, what makes them come up. Little things suddenly become big things. I remember Chris saying that they'd seen this weird contraption in the sea off the South China Sea or something, and it turned out it was a military thing, and he'd shared it already on on his blog. Assume you're doing a blog as you go along with solar. And he said, God, if I hadn't shared that, I think they'd have probably finished us off because it was a spy satellite or something. So these things that you don't think you're going to have to face while you're out there. So, but if you've done it before, you know what's coming, basically. Yes, no?
Yeah, we know what's coming. We're better organized this time than we were before. We're better prepared. I think we're all fitter because we know the kind of fitness we need now. And it's not being able to row at 25 strokes a minute on a concept two. You know, it's very different to that.
Yeah.
It's just being able to keep going. You know, the typical shift rotor is 2 hours on, 2 hours off.
So from California to Hawaii, how far is that?
Yeah, it's 3,200 statute miles,
Yes.
4,500 kilometers.
And I'm 60, you're 66.
Yeah.
You're 66. And I hope you get the right answer for what I'm going to ask this. How important is age in these things?
Say that again.
How important is age on achieving goals and challenges?
I don't think it's important. I mean, we get weaker and frailer as we get older. But people say to me, "Have you trained for this row?" And I say, "I've never stopped training. I've been training my whole life because
in the head as well.
I train every day when I can. I mean, I'm working. Sometimes I'm still involved in 5 companies. You know, I'm a busy guy. But if I possibly can, and so 5 days a week, I go in the gym or I'll ride my bike or I'll walk out in the woods. I have a harness. I pull some tires around.
Right.
So I try to stay fit because I think what does become more difficult as you get older is getting that fitness back if you lose it.
Yeah.
And potentially losing weight becomes more difficult if you stack on the weight. So I've tried to, through my life, maintain a degree of fitness. So listen, I'm not the world's fittest man, not by a long chalk.
Yeah.
But I'm fit enough to get across that ocean, and that's what I will do.
Well, and some of the things I found on my own challenges is because I'd often think, oh God, look at these, what we might call on a long cycle, a skinny wind dodger, and look at me, you know, not the slimmest person and so on. But sometimes it's just the keep on keeping on. As you get maturity, the kind of, we're going to work through this and this has happened, but we'll work through that. If you had to put a sort of ratio on it of the importance, say, of physicality to psychology, what would you say is how that weaves together? Because I've seen some people who are kind of like they've sold out and retired at the age of 25, and other people who are 80 going on strong. So it is obviously physicality, but it's a bit of both. What would you say is the ratio?
I mean, for this particular challenge, I think it's 50-50. We will have horrendous days, and we need to be able to maintain a level of motivation through those bad days. And a lot of that's in your head. And, you know, when you've gone 10, 15, 20 days, only getting an hour's sleep at a time, your body does start to fail and your mind starts to fail. So physically, you can keep it going, but it's the mentality of it, the ability to dig deep and not just motivate yourself, but motivate those around you. You know, each one of us will have a bad day.
Yeah.
And part of our job, if they're having a bad day, is to encourage them, support them, help them, because there will be the return of that when I'm having a bad day. So the team spirit is critical. So the combined psychology of it is really important. And we've chosen this team really very carefully. It's a completely different team to the Atlantic,
Right.
except for Matt and I, my son and I. And we've had a number of people who've come in and dropped out and come in and dropped out for all kinds of different reasons. But some people have come in and realized it's just too tough for them. They just don't want to do it. And these are people who've done, you know, some big challenges.
Yeah.
But the grind of 2 hour rowing
Yeah.
and another 2 hours and another 2 hours and another 2 hours and another 2 hours, because the world record for the crossing we're doing is 52 days. So you've got to be able to imagine rowing 2 hours on, 2 hours off for 52 days without a break. We don't take a break. We don't stop and have a day off. And you know what? If the weather turns against us, that's fine. We dig in twice as hard because it's a race.
Yeah.
We suspect and we typically know that there will be other teams who, when the going gets tough, they'll throw out the power anchor and they'll go to bed and they'll sleep for 6 hours. And we say, no, we'll keep rowing. And you know what? We might only make 10 miles, but they'll have floated backwards 10 miles, so we've made 20 miles.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the difference.
And so you got 2 rowing stations, 5 guys. What is
three? We've got 3 rowing stations.
3 rowing stations. Okay.
Yeah.
So 2 resting at any point in time, and do you sort of move through? How does that explain?
Yeah, we have a rotor which we've designed to keep 3 rowing at all times. So we get a fresh rower every hour into one of the positions. And it becomes quite complex because you can't be attached to a seat, attached as in psychologically attached. You know, I like to be stroke or I like to be, you can't. We will each move through the seats. We will each sleep in one cabin, then in the other cabin, little tiny cabins. They're like the boot of a car. And it's quite nice to have your own little cabin, but that's not the most efficient way of doing it. And you really don't want somebody else coming in there when you've just got to sleep. So we rotate on the whole boat. So we've worked out this rotor, which means we believe we can keep 3 guys rowing at all times. Otherwise, we're carrying the dead weight of a person and their kit and their food, which is, you know, the best part of 200 kilograms.
I remember on the Clipper race, you know, the skipper was really clear that you're either powering the boat or you're ballast.
Exactly that. Exactly that.
So obviously I want to get into loads more detail when you come back and we do a podcast and we hear all the kind of gritty details and all the growth and all the challenges and the different elements. But for this excerpt that I want to put out before, tell me about the Lewis Moody Brain Tumour Trust and why that's important to you guys.
So I lost my little sister to cancer. So I've raised money now a couple of times for cancer research or for cancer charities. But Lewis has been a friend for a long time. I don't know how long, many years. And I've gone along with Lewis as part of the expeditions that he's arranged. I've gone along as a kind of coach and mentor on some of his events.
Yeah.
And this time we thought, right, where can we raise money that will have a maximum impact? And speaking to Lewis and speaking to the charity he's raising money for, which is the Brain Tumour Charity, we realised that we can have quite a big impact with the amount of money we're raising. We're well through 50,000 now. We're approaching 100,000.
Brilliant.
And we're still chasing. And anybody wants to help us, we'd be delighted. Go to the website, click on donate. Every penny counts. And the point
I'll make sure I put the link on this when we put it.
Yeah, and the point to make is every penny we raise goes to the charity. We know that there are some events where they take the money from the donations to pay for the event. Well, we don't do that. We paid for the event ourselves. We paid for the boat ourselves. We paid for the truck. We paid for everything ourselves. So every penny donated goes to the charity.
And that's a really important point because I once raised 100 grand for 100 charities in 100 days. And I tried to make it all about local charities because, you know, who's going to knock a big charity, a Sue Ryder, a Mill and that? They do amazing things. But what is shocking is the money that's spent on rent and rates and trustees. And,
Yeah.
some of these trustees earning hundreds of thousands of pounds, or CEOs earning millions of pounds. And yet I always say, when Mr. and Mrs. Miggins outside Sainsbury's puts a couple of pound in a pot or makes a regular donation, they think most of it is going. And yet for some charities, it's single digit that ends up to the frontline recipients.
It goes to the charity.
Brilliant. Well done. And I'm conscious of how busy you are at the moment, getting ready, getting prepared. But what excites you most about it, and what scares you most about the challenge at the moment?
Yeah, what excites me most is the challenge, the scale of the challenge. We know that the first 10 days are going to be horrifically difficult. There's a massive current that comes down the west coast of America and tries to pull us down to Mexico. Right. We've got to get through that. We know that the weather will not be very kind to us. We'll be in full foul weather gear for the first 3 weeks, is our expectation. The sea is very cold, so we really don't want to turn it over, because in full foul weather gear, in an ocean that's 7 or 8 degrees, is very dangerous and very uncomfortable, because we'll never dry out.
No.
So the challenge is what excites me.
Yeah, I do. I remember my own experience on a boat, and that was for 6 weeks at sea. We were 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 2 hours on, 2 hours off, but we were wet really from the second day in for the whole thing.
I think the messages that I would give to people are: age doesn't matter. I'm 66. I'm going to do this thing. I'll be the oldest person ever to row across the Pacific, but so what? Yeah. Get somebody who's 67 or 68 to go and do it next, and records are there to be broken. So age doesn't matter. If you have a dream to do something, go and do it. Don't wait. Life's too short to wait. And so I work on the basis that when I die, I want to die with memories, not with dreams.
Brilliant.
And so it's about going and doing the stuff. We have one life, use it. And the third thing is, get some adventure in your life, do something that stretches you, that challenges you, but have fun doing it. And ideally raise some money for a worthy cause along the way.
Well, listen, I won't wish you luck, because it's the work that you put in, and I know you'll get it. And I sometimes think it when someone says good luck, it sort of demeans the work that goes in. But I wish you a great trip with great memories, and the challenge will make the celebration all the more better. What a great cause as well. And as soon as you're back, let's get a date in the diary and share the broader story with the world that needs that level of inspiration, needs that level of belief that age is just enough.
That's great.
And needs to build a dream to pursue themselves.
Super. All right. Thanks very much. I'll see you in a few months.
I look forward to it, but enjoy the journey.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Take care.
Thank you.